Hi, I am Dr. Brenda Jean Power, and the doctor represents metaphysics. And this is the Medicine Woman Soultion show. Solution is the Soultion. So your soul has a solution. And I've been really studying about the brain. And the brain is super important when it comes to you deciding and making the decisions of your day or that moment or the rest of your life. But the more I dive into who, what, where, when, why, and how, asking all these questions, well, what part of the brain is functioning when we are making decisions? Well, it's the frontal lobe. And when we're in stress, usually we will leave the frontal lobe and go in the limbic system and other parts of our system. And the healing tools I've been using have been helping people to address, like, I can't stop thinking about somebody, or I have all this under pressure. I've got outcomes that got to happen. And is there anything I can do? And usually I will help somebody, I will empathize and listen. But at the same time, for the show and other stuff, I've learned that, okay, if you don't need the empathizing part right now, how about if we balance your brain? Then we can talk. And usually after I give you the tools to balance your brain, the talk is extremely different. And this is why we start showing the before and after, talking about the witnessing after. But it's the way the brain begins to make me want to ask more deeper questions. And so again, studying more about the brain. And as I refine my readings with new tools that I have to help, a doctor of metaphysics, yes. And so as I study the brain, I began to notice that the brain anticipates, and that can create a whole host of feelings and emotions, and the body to react, blood constricts, heart racing. But yet it's like, but who's running the show? Is it you or your brain? Who is the you? Is it the mind, or are you the programs? And people have been learning that it's not necessarily your 5%, but your 95% that's been running the programs. And I'm like, okay, we're getting here, but the brain predicts. Like, it's always hallucinating, the next best guess, but it predicts. If you look at it as just the word is that it predicts. It knows where you're going to go, how you're going to act. It senses the sensations that you can't see. Like, if you ever walk into a room and you knew that somebody was fighting and you're like, I don't think I want to be in this space. Okay. Energy from people get left, things are just constantly left behind. And these energies can be felt afterwards, but your body is going to pick it up and start predicting this isn't safe. Now, let's say you had a trauma and it was nighttime, and so it was in the winter, and let's say it was, so bedtime seems to screw up you're 58 years old, you're laying in bed and going, I can't sleep. And the body predicts, even though you're in a wonderful, comfortable place, it goes back into, thank you, it goes back into those dates and times and events that have not been resolved out. Hi, Vicki. And this is the sad part, is that we are here, but our body is saying, oh, we have to be on guard. We have to, this reminds me of this, and that reminds me of that. And we feel like, what can we do? But the brain is always predicting. And one of the things that, somebody could say something and you're like, oh, I know where that's going. Or, because you have a part of your brain called the RTJP, the right temporal junction parietal lobe, that only thinks what other people think. Hi, Lynn. And the sad part is that we don't realize that our program self is running the show. So when I'm asking you to wake up from a world or the matrix, it is to become more of your essence of yourself, your true higher self, your the spirit of love and peace and harmony. And when you start to activate that parts of your brain and you begin to develop it, you can be a little bit more in charge of the choice point, that given point where you get to make a choice. So, like tomorrow in Tribal, I'm going to be talking about knee jerk responses. Knee jerk. I mean, most people live by knee jerk because the brain says, well, we have to be fast and efficient. So we have to memorize everything we do. And if I'm sitting there thinking about my ex, I'm not going to be able to live in the moment. Now, if I'm thinking about my ex in a negative way, that's going to get me all worked up. My body's going to respond. Negative things are going to occur. And the body will create and have a nocebo effect. It also it will also create your inner world is all chaos. That's all you're going to see. One of the things that happens that they did a study on was that when you personalized it, gave it meaning, and made it about yourself instead of the person that was, oh, they're a butthead and they did this to me, instead of making it about them, when you made it about yourself, it became trauma for the brain. So this woman named Maria, in her culture where men are supposed to, it's expected, it is the norm, it is not shunned upon that men can abuse girls, women, doesn't matter what age, and because that's expected. Now, when you know that that's part of your life, there's a part of you that won't see it as trauma because that's the culture, that's where you're at. And this woman, Maria, she was abused all the time. And she would just say, it's them, it's them, it's them. And she would not really ever say, it's, she's the victim, she's this and that. And they thought, well, why is her brain not reacting like other people will? And so they realized that when you change the perspective, instead of going, oh, that's what's expected, they're assholes, this is what you get, instead, she kept saying, it's out there, it's out there. When she would watch, and she watched an American television show, it was Oprah, and they had the topic of abuse, and they had a topic of what was not accepted, which was physical abuse, and from men to women, and all of this. And she's listening to the stories, and she's empathizing. And the next thing you know, she's like, that happened to me. So she saw herself in this situation. She felt it. She goes, oh my God. And so she was recalling all these bad events that didn't cause her brain to have trauma. But because she had learned to put meaning to what was going on and learning the differences of right and wrong, good and bad, and all of that, her brain then saw it as that's wrong and saw it as bad. And that has happened to me. Now, it made her sick. It made her, so our body says, oh, there's a man. So our body started to predict that if there's a man present, then all of these unresolved issues will come popping up. Because now she has this parameter that shouldn't be happening, even though in her culture it was normal. So what are you supposed to do about it? All these things. Well, what happened is she started getting sick and withdrawing, and her grades went down. And so we can pass on by telling our stories, a good thing, but by telling our stories, it also can help you say no more to this stuff, but you also can take on and turn on the trauma response. And I thought, oh my gosh, we don't really want that. We want our stories to be told so we can, not just to get empathized where somebody says, I understand you, and you can gather minions. That's not what we're doing. It is to say, can we change the time? Can we look at cultures? Can we look at places and say, I don't want to live that way anymore, and I'm not going to pass that down to my children, and I'm not going to do this. But as we really break down and decipher the differences of this, that, and the other and put labels on it, people will pigeonhole themselves when they see themselves in that situation and they feel the victim mindset, or they are doing their best to process, and you can get lost. So the brain will constantly predict. It will predict that in this given moment, that, oh, let's say it was, okay, winter and it was raining and it was, you're like, what? And now, yeah, I remember this. So it kind of recalls and brings it up. And your body acts as if it just happened. Your brain has no difference of what's going on. So the brain is going to constantly scan, listen with, or see, or feel, or smell, or taste, and all those other sensory systems that we have. And it'll come up and it'll tell you how to feel based on how you put meaning to your story, your events, your experiences. And we can pass this on to other people. Now, no one can change it except for you. Yes, it happened to you, but you'll have to hit rock bottom. You'll have to hit something, and in order for you to finally say, no, I'm taking my pen back. And as I take my pen back, I'm going to go back to that choice point and make different choices. But it's hard to do if you don't understand that the cells, your 50 trillion cells, are all vibrating to that negative belief system or that negative emotion. And as it's vibing with that and creating this nocebo effect, your inner world can be chaos, but you will also send out this energy, so you get to get proof that it is also negative out there. Now that's the program. That's that part of you. But if we were to look, hi Pam, if we were to look and decide as that 5%, okay, I want heart brain coherence. I don't want to live this way anymore. And you're taking charge. You have to kind of monitor and choose. Am I going there? Am I running with that thought? Am I going to conclusions? Am I wanting to keep my excuses and my reasonings because it's proof? And so what happens is the past, if it's not resolved, or the meaning we give it, depending on how we're going to give it meaning, because it's based on what we're feeling, or are we going to take charge and change the chemical peptides so that we can get the wisdom that gets locked into these unresolved stories? So the brain is constantly predicting, and the brain, when it gets it wrong, it will correct itself, and that's good. But at the same time, if the brain is saying, no, this is normal, there's nothing to correct, then you're going to stay more deeper into a program. So trauma is not something that happens in the world to you. So this is very objective, it happens. But when the moment you make it personal and you're trying to say, these are my feelings, this is where we get really complicated as a human, because it's like, yes, it's important that we hear, learn to become aware, learn to process, hi Amy, learn to move forward instead of being stuck in the past or having to repeat anxiety, which is anxiety is about the future and based on the past. And we feel like we can't change the past, but that's not true. We can help those littles resolve their issues because you're in charge. But somebody's got to show up. Somebody's got to be there. You have to learn to be there. And it's the you that's here now. But if you're constantly stressed, you're not going to be able to fight your way out of a paper bag, because you will disconnect from spirit. You will disconnect from your heart. And you will drop into just basically the left brain, that part of the brain that says there's fear, there's worry, it's emergency, we have to survive. And the right brain doesn't get heard. The heart doesn't get heard. And so we're then have these stories that are so hellish. And I have been with people to help them to say, we don't have to go there. We can stop this. And I can teach you how to become aware so we can stop this process. And it is important that we begin to walk our talk. But what does that mean? Well, if you are angry and the program starts talking and walking, then you're going to see the enemy. And then your inner world and your outer world is only going to be working through the survival brain, working more with bowing down to fear. And even if you're conquering fear, but yet you're fearful, you're not really connecting to that heart brain coherence. And you really are not connecting to that higher self. So, subjective reality is we make it personal. And as I help you use tools to be heard, like this here is like OMG, touching this point, these 2 points creates a way to magnetically bring the blood back up to your head. And this is a 41 thoughts per minute. And it gets stuck in your frontal lobe that this is the executive decision and inside the left brain. And oh my gosh, it's coming from the limbic system. And it's always about stress, fear, worry. And even if your life isn't stressful, it's going to be stressful because of where your thoughts are. And when you decide that you want to begin to change your routine, you have to pay attention to what's happening. So the brain is always, through your sensory system, taking pictures. Your brain's taking pictures, left brain, right brain, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your tongue, your ears, every part of you, your organs are sensing certain things. So, and where am I in space and time is proprioception. So recently, I have a VR set and I have it on, and if some games, their rate, their freeze frame rate, the frame, if it's too slow, can make you nauseous. Your brain's like, what's this? And even though you know it's not real, the brain is like, what is this? And so what's happening is that you can get very nausea very quickly because the brain is having to say this, there's an error and it has to recorrect. And so the brain is constantly scanning. It's doing its best. And they've done studies where, like, if you're looking at me and you're saying, hey, there's Brenda, that's what she's doing. And then I told you to look at me and in your mind's eye, think of an apple. And you do. And I said, what color is it? What's it taste like? Can you hear the crunch? Does it have a smell? And what will happen is if your brain was being scanned, the visual cortex that would light up is if you're actually looking at it, because you have meaning. You know what an apple is, right? And then your sensory systems of your taste buds and things will kick in, and you can hear the crunch, so then auditory would kick in. And so the mind's eye believes it's real. And the brain only sees a mirror image. So this is where it gets confusing when you're like, yeah, but they are cruel to me. Yes, they did that, but it's also, you can't see them any other way based on your programs and the meaning you put behind them. Or if it's somebody else's meaning you borrowed it, but you can personally feel it. So emotional intelligence needs to grow. Some emotional intelligence gets stuck in the meaning and the pain and the suffering because you're turning the way that you're observing it, saying it happened to you, instead of saying they did it to me. And at the same time, as you begin to heal, you want to stop blaming, because it's one finger out and three fingers back, right? And you're like, why am I getting all these mixed signals? So I just basically say, let's balance that brain. Because hi, Marie. Hey, Katie. When you balance the brain, you'll be amazed at all of a sudden, and you measure it. You're in a shit show, you're stressed, and then we rub a few points on your wrist or your ankles, and all of a sudden your brain goes, whoa. So we're getting you out of that limbic system, and they've been doing studies and proofs on this type of work I've been doing, and it moves you into the frontal lobe so that you can start making better executive decisions. And if that works for a second and it doesn't, meaning it has worked, but you can't get your focus to measure it and decide to let it go. So if you have a result, like you have a pending outcome that you want to make sure they pay, well, we may have to go in and help you look at how you believe they didn't pay for it. They and that you have to have that sort, and they took this energy from you. So then other tools will come into play, so that, like cord switching, and not cord cutting, cord switching, and you can move in that space in your mind that you start to resolve these things. And when you change the meaning, you start getting the wisdom. And your brain will begin to predict. As you put an apple and you're thinking of the apple, the brain will predict, oh, I know which one. It's my favorite, and then maybe it's a Granny Smith apple, and it tastes a little sour, and it's juicy, and it's, and you can start and the body goes, wait a minute, I can predict this. So the body then will, turn around and go, wait a minute, I know what an apple is, so it creates salivary waiting for you, and getting the body into digestive enzymes, waiting for that apple to come, and it doesn't come. It's like Pavlov's dog. And your brain will predict, okay, we have 8 o'clock in the morning, we always have coffee, and I have to do this blood dilation, I have to do all this. And so you don't drink coffee, but the body, the brain, is predicting. And then all of a sudden, because it didn't get that particular stimulation, you get a headache. And you're like, oh, darn coffee. Well, the brain's predicting and acting the way it normally does. Well, this is your routine. This is what you do. Your body will help you know it's dinner time. Will get the body prepared to eat. And, the digestive enzyme, it does all these things, and you go and it helps prepare. And so how you react. Okay, so next thing you know, you're going to go prepare to go to the bathroom. And we're always in a strategy situation, but the brain is the one that predicts that, well, we have to do this, this, and this before we do this. And it helps you create this certain motivation. Somebody asked me a question. So is cord switching better than cord cutting? Yes. And I studied about cord cutting, and what I found out was the roots are there. Like you cut the cord, right? And you do whatever ritual, depending on which one you do. But I always found out that the energy that they put on you, you didn't get to take off and put in the treasure chest properly, or they took something from you and you didn't take it back properly. And there is different types of cords, because if you have a different type of emotional cord, or somebody, let's say they touched you, they can put a cord onto you without you knowing it, maybe not intentionally. But then there's some people that do things intentionally, and they can hook to different chakras and different areas of your body. Now, those cords, I even do cord switching on those. Instead of just cutting them, I take out the emotional wedge that creates the link. But again, I still do it in cord switching form. The tools have helped to change your perspective, and then that helps to change the frequency within yourself. Absolutely. because your perspective and the kaleidoscope of perspectives, your perception, your meaning. And if we put, let's say, 4 reporters at a burning building, one on each corner, they're all going to come back with a different story, a different spin, a different thing. Are they all wrong? Or are they all right? And it isn't about always right and wrong. It's about the perspective. No, if you're in wanting to make money, you're going to look for the juiciest one where people are going to want to click, 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 or read or buy and respond. And you know, you got to have a cliffhanger. You got to keep them wanting more. And that's the other thing about, do you actually in charge of your life? Okay. Are you in charge of your life? And when your body is predicting, like if you're hungry, or if you're, oh, you're going to be drinking coffee, or you know you're going to be talking to this person and you're going to be stressed, so it can put you already in a stress state before you even go. The brain knows how you're going to react, how you're going to feel, and it uses all of your sensory systems. So if we were to look at how the brain is going to predict how are you going to do something, like you get up every day at a certain time, you won't need an alarm. Your body will just wake up. Like I wanted to sleep in this morning, but instead my body goes, oh, you better wake up. It's 8:15. And I went, what? I woke up, looked up, oh, it is 8:50. All right, I'm getting up. So the body says you're not going to sleep. Now, if you, again, memorize it, focus on it, make it personal, find meaning to it, then your filing cabinet, your definitions, all of these things are going to be predictors to how you're going to have the next day, the next day, and the next day. So we need to disrupt these predictors. We need to tell the brain that here's the chemical peptide. We want to address it. We want to take the key out of these. This is your cell and it has receptors. And if you're constantly thinking and worrying, and that key goes in and goes, blah, 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 I'm supposed to worry. And we use tools like OMG or success hope therapy. And all of a sudden the key comes out and you switch not only from the limbic brain to the frontal lobe, but you also bring your blood back up into your forebrain and change the visceral response, because then the blood, instead of going to your limbs, will also go into your organs. And when you change this, you deliberately have to be the one to change this, because no one else can do this for you. You have to choose it. Hey, Amber. And if you like, I could feel that I was predicting. And I was like, I'm feeling my body act as if, and wait a minute, it doesn't have to do that. So I started to, you can use EFT and I could read into it, or I don't have to. But I looked at the meaning. And so when my body last night was like, yeah, we're not going to go to sleep. And I'm like, why? Why? And so my brain was predicting, and it became very self-conscious. And I said, do you mean I feel like I feel insecure while I'm sleeping here? And it was like, yes. Did I feel safe sleeping here? Yes. And I'm like, okay, so I feel insecure about reacting, being, protecting myself. And it was, yeah, you have problems protecting yourself. So then I thought, well, that's interesting. So I do muscle testing, and I don't want just anybody willy-nilly muscle testing, because if you are emotional stress, you're going to give yourself completely wrong answers. So anyways, it was a long process to hook up to it. And as I was checking myself, now I'm ready to roll, I said, I'm okay that I cannot protect I'm okay that I feel insecure about protecting myself. My body goes, no. So it's like I have an incongruency. And we listening to the brain, I said, okay, where's it sit? So then I ask, I find out which organ is in, and it's in the stomach. So then I'll go to the stomach, and sure enough, I can't hold my arm up. And I'm like, stomach. Now I have like different ones. This came about because I'm studying about how to help change the physiology without having to pay a lot of expensive. So I'm looking at the stomach, and the stomach is saying, I feel self-conscious. I said, really? When did my brain believe or learn or memorize that I had become very self conscious? And they said at 3 years old. Oh, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that happened at 3 years old. Now, I can know, but I don't need to know the story. My body already knows the story. And so I'm like, okay, it's self conscious. Now, self conscious again, if you're looking at the successes, safety, security, stability, sanity, serenity, and space, I said, so do I have safety? Yes. Do I have security? No. So I feel insecure, very self-conscious at 3 years old. So I would have really noticed that eyes were looking at me. So I became very extremely shy, timid. My mother told me that one, and it makes sense. So then I'm like, okay, now I'm looking a little deeper. And as I do this, I go, okay, okay, so I got safety, security. I go, I'm stable, that's fine. Serenity, no serenity. And so I'm like, oh, this is why my body doesn't want to. Yeah, so serenity. I'm like, okay. So then I said, do I have freedom? No. So I have problems in the freedom, the security, and the serenity. I said, stable is fine. Now, I can look and say the emotion was that I became very self conscious. And I can already tell it was because I can feel it and I can measure it. Now, I would, I can use my sensory system, which is sensory accessing, which probably is good that I do so. But at the same time, that pH, my physiology is saying my peace is gone. And so then if I go back and I touch here and say, it's not just self-conscious, my peace is gone. And it was like, and it's not yes or no, it is, oh my God, my peace is gone. My body is saying, that's the emotion. That's the thing. Now I can take, and this is what the new healing tool is about, is when we need to address the spine. And I took my hairbrush into the other room, so I'll just use this one. And so I'm going to tap it. Got to get back there. T8. And I'm going to hold here because I want to focus on the peace is gone. And my mind goes into how I'm at night. Even though it's peaceful here, I can't use this. I have to look at how, like, taking care of the kids was stressful. My family would end up fighting when I was sleeping. And I could always be fearful. Okay. Now I want to get in there and tap the other. There's 3 points to this, and I need to get in and tap those. Tap them and breathe and focus and listening to the body. And if I hit them all, and I said, did I get them all? Yes. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to test the stomach for this. All that is this topic that was predicting the problem of falling asleep, and I'm not losing power. And then I said self-conscious, not losing power. Peace is gone, not losing power. Now I can test again and see if it's anywhere else, and I'm not really getting that. Now I'm feeling how my body is recalibrating a little bit, so this feels pretty good. Is it all about you? I'm not sure exactly. So again, when we put personal meaning, and I was a kid looking and put personal meaning to whatever event happened. Okay, so we lived in a trailer, and this was a time period when my mother was going to get divorced. Don't know if that's when she went to work. I think it was 3 years old when my mother went to work, and it was third shift. So I didn't like the fact that my mother wasn't there, and I'd always have to be shoved to a neighbor's house, whether it was early in the morning or, but for a child, it doesn't have to be so trauma. But if the child is making, is it if it turns around and it's about you, okay, then it can be very traumatic. So that first 7 years of your life, your brain is, not neural network together. You're not set in stone until you're probably about 30. And so the brain, the neural networks, if you look at the brain, wow, look at all that activity. They believed long ago when it became hardwired that your brain doesn't keep growing. That's a lie. Neuroplasticity, you can have a broken brain and still fix it. You can have stroke, something like that, and you still fix it, which is amazing. So we've learned a lot about growing and healing on this. So I'm feeling how my body is recalibrating. My brain does not have to keep predicting it if we change the physiology. And like, if you followed me, I would have gone there and said, okay, we would hold right wrist, second position deep. And do I still need to do that? Not necessarily. I've already worked on this quite a bit. This is why I don't really feel my body saying there's an issue, but my mental and emotional is not an issue. And so I don't have to keep, I'm not telling you this so that I can get your sympathy. I'm telling you this that I don't have to be controlled by my programs of the past, because there are tools now that can help you shift the way your stress patterns of your brain are. And when you get your brain healthy, your brain will also change the way it predicts. And when you're able to do so, you will be like, well, I know it was a revelation for me going, where'd all those nasty thoughts go? And I heard, Spirit, do you want them back? No. I got some peace going on in here. I always felt like I was going to feel like I was insane. And that was the other part of the successes is sanity. So now I can look at this and say, okay, is sanity, to all that was, is sanity. And it says it is nice and strong. So I can even check self-conscious, I can check the, and it's all good. I'm like, oh, hi. And so the brain, why am I telling you this? Is that I always felt like, stress was something that you're supposed to do. I learned it from my family. I learned it from my friends. I learned it from TV show. I borrowed it. This is what this means. And so I feel like, so tribal, I, don't do it all the time because we talk about different topics and do a lot of healing so that you can grow. But there is a course that I want to teach that is all about changing the definitions so that the meaning is not somebody else's. That the meaning is that we have to always keep this in play generation after generation. No, we want to change these meanings, but along with changing the meanings, we do healings. And it's similar to tribal, except for we're changing just the definitions. When I change the meaning, and when it was like, oh my God, this is always happening to me, these statements, these beliefs, these things would pop up, and I would follow them back. And as I'm sitting there holding with the Success Hope Therapy tool, it changed that chatter. But I also was like, oh my gosh. And so I was able to stay in the frontal lobe while other people are stressed without having to be put back into it. I started to work on the mental, the emotional, the belief systems. And then now I can help the physical, the physiology, to say, wait a minute. We don't need to morph, change, be just like borrow, keep going in that direction. I want to create a new matrix. So I will hold, we have healing tools, but we also have energy tools that you can learn how to hold space. But when you start to change the mind and the body, you're going to learn how to hold space like a boss. So when somebody starts to say stuff, your inner world doesn't have to project out and say, I have to be triggered. I would have in the past, but I don't have to. So we can help you move out of that energy field or victimhood, change that so that it is not about you as much as it's about I don't have to take the bait. I don't have to take and be in pain. I don't have to play the victim. I don't have to feel like somebody's always shaking the jar and I have to be the one to take the, yes, we want you to change and create a new world. We want you to change. And it begins by balancing the brain. It begins by you becoming aware that you're less than love. And strangely enough, when enough people have made it so personal, they can't ever get out of it. And so those people, you just hold space and you have empathy and you give them understanding. And eventually, if they want to, and they have to get to the state that they want to. I did. I had enough. I was done. I want to, and my environment in the inside was too much chaotic. In my household, it was too chaotic. And even though it didn't look like it was chaotic at all, it was what I had seen growing up and accepted as the way of being and falling in love with people that would gaslight me because that's what I knew. But when I changed in me, that I no longer accepted gaslighting as love, and that I began to see patterns and programs about it. It wasn't that they were bad people. It's just, this is what you're supposed to do. Watch any television show. Yeah, you don't have to see any enemy anymore. And you don't have to attract them to you neither. And you don't have to fall in love with what you grew up with. You get to change the love factor. And as I began to do this, it was, wow, I feel great. And it's like, and then it was like, well, where'd all the chatter go in my head? Where'd all the stress and the chaos and the belief systems? And, it's always, my fault, blah, blah. It was gone. And I'm like, God, this feels good. My left brain is quiet. My brain was balanced. And I'm like, whoa. And the moment that the next trigger came along, I started to go back into, but it wasn't the same story. It was another one that was built upon another one. And so then I started to apply the healing tools again. And then I would be back to peace. And then I would be back to this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I learned to miss myself. I want the one that I know I can be. And this memorized one or this hellish thing, I don't have to have a hellish state of mind. And so I started to learn how to measure, and I learned how to communicate with the body. And I learned how to be my 5%. And the best kind of medicine is love. And if it's not working, increase the dose. And you're like, but I got to get it from another person. That's where it's wrong. You learn to fall in love and connect with your heart without being afraid that gaslighting is going to come or something bad's going to come. You got to heal that too. My heart already knows that there are times that I just love being by myself. Give me a good book about the brain and I'm good to go. But it is that love space. I love me. And when I know what the feeling of love is, so it is the honeymoon effect. And when you begin to notice life is hell, but then all of a sudden you fall in love, the stress just like, where did it go? And let's say you made up with you connected with somebody and you are just living a great life with, like all of a sudden, let's say, 3 days you've had the honeymoon effect for, and time just stops because your focus, your perception, and your belief systems are in that love space. And it's like, well, how do I apply this love to my everyday event? And that is, I have to look at it that way. And that's when I realized we have to begin to stop doing what's called the pimp and the hoe, which means somebody's got to put the dream in your head and you have to give them the rewards. And then I said, we have to stop being in the 4 things that every human that needs to transform are these 4 archetypes. The prostitute is becoming less than. Okay? You don't have to become less than. The victim. We don't have to. There's a certain way of being and talking and all this. But when the brain says I can't survive without something, I'll have to do this in order to get it. Well, this is where it becomes the problem. So as I began to heal out this victim talk, this victim way of feeling, this victim way of I can't do it for myself, I learned to create independence. And then I learned to sit in the quantum field to attract to me wonderful things. And as I began to do that, I realized I don't have to believe my own BS. And if I'm in a state of a crap show, then I will heal it out. So I don't have to be influenced by that BS, the belief systems and bullshit. And I don't have to. I don't have to believe everything that my programs of fear and suffering have to say. We are actually hardwired for joy. And those joy flows can't flow in to support you and to love you and take care of you. So the body then goes into thinking that it has to break down. So the environment changes your DNA. I fell. Well, I'll give you that story. I had hurt myself and I had soft tissue damage. And break anything, but I've also broken things before. And I'm like, always amazed how all of a sudden this injury, my body comes in and focuses so much on that, and my body repairs itself. And I said, so why isn't that same thing healing other issues that I have? And then Spirit goes, well, it's because an injury, you know, it had happened and it takes time to heal and recover. Whereas everyday life, you're like a frog in a pot and it's slow to boil that you don't even know you're being cooked. So every time you think and you feel and you believe and you put meaning to it and you point fingers and do this and be into those states, the body just then can't function to its full capacity. So it becomes its new norm. So then the body becomes and acts as if it's sick. So it's the personality that causes the sickness. But when the personality is put on hold, the body can actually begin to repair. So you have memorized yourself. People think that their way is the only right way. Yet this is the perception. If you are stuck in this perception and you don't realize that there's other people, you cannot learn how to do the and respect. And if their needs aren't met, they'll throw energy to make your ego feel better. That is what we were taught so long ago. That's so such a 3D world. And it is so true because it's all based on like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If your needs aren't met, you have to figure out how to survive. And to get it, you have to play these games. And the new world and the new way of being is that you heal yourself without having to play these games. You heal yourself and you line up to a new world. And when you do, your needs will already start being met. Spirit will guide you. You will be able to have autonomy, and you'll be able to have sovereignty and the ability to self-govern. And you'll have the agency where you are the one in charge. And this is where we haven't really learned was how to be in charge, to have that agency. We are only understanding that we have the power. We're not using it the way that other people think. So they are like, yeah, you're not using it. I'll just take it and, and you'll do what I ask. And I'll tell you in such a way that you'll just think that and that's the pimp in the hole. I'll give you love, but if you don't give love, I will become Hitler and be angry with you. And it's a power control thing, and it doesn't have to be in, big 1% or anything about money. It has a lot of it has to do with just the daily living. And your brain will predict this is what they do, and this is where it falls into the scalar field. And this is another course that's important to understand, is that two auras come together, and then when the auras cross over, it's supposed to be the similarities. It's the commonalities. It is the greatness, but it's not. Not in relationships. What's missing in me, I'm attracted in you, and then when you can give that, then I feel safe. But when you do too much of it because that's not me, then we can clash. Or if I am me and I need to grow, then like my ex, he helped me learn how to fight, how to stand up for myself, how to say no. And so no relationship is bad or wrong. It gives you something. It helps this growth pattern. And what I realized is that every time I would be in this space of love, and all of a sudden somebody would come along, because this is all I ever saw, was that they would gaslight me if they didn't like my behavior. And then they would just kind of guilt and shame, there's usually the two that happens, and shun me. And the next thing I know, I'm going into that shy place of being. So my brain says, oh, we have to do this to survive. And then I realized, okay, brain, no, you do not have to go into old patterns. And we have the gift to use our hands. Even if you don't have hands, there's other ways of doing it. You are electromagnetic being, and we have to get rid of the fact that we think we can't heal ourselves. We have been taught by society that you're not responsible for your healing. You have to give it to somebody else. And that is where our first part of us that say, here's our pen. And we have to change that. And it's not true. You want to change. Okay. So if you are looking for readings, if you have, I give free readings to those that I've never given a reading to before. And those that I have given you a reading, you have an opportunity to pay $5, $15, or $25, depending on what you want. And so a person, we're going to name, her name is Sharon Whipple. And I've never, we had corresponded a little bit, but she said, well, I'll be at work. She goes, but can I have a reading? And I said, yes. And so this goes out for Sharon. Now, it is, her mind is stuck, and the 41 thoughts per minute are so stressful about her relationship with a person. And it's just like, can this stop? And I'm going to say yes. So now I'm like, okay, so why is these particular way of thinking, and it is that you're in stress state? And I said, what's going on? And they said, well, the reason why it is I'm irrelevant. And so her body says, I'm irrelevant to this person. And and I'm looking a little bit further, and they go, yes. And I can't help that I have built up, and they have built up, an intolerance to, of contempt. And I can't stop this mind from doing this over and over and over. And so your brain is going to come up and say, oh, they said this, did this, and you have to go into defense mode. And then you have to, and it's all these energy exchanges. So I'm going to help her instead of just giving her a reading. Well, the first thing that she's going to need to do is understand that in the relationship, there was territorial issues. There was territorial issues. And the problem with territorial issues is that you can feel them crossing the line, but maybe you don't realize that how they speak and how they act, and it makes you come up with conclusions that they want you to have. That makes sense. Okay, I gotta plug this in. And we have to get the brain to so you can measure that, okay, ugh, here I am thinking about them again. What I want you to do is that I want you to take your right wrist, and you are going to take and hold the first point, which is you're going to put your thumb on the first point, very soft, finger in the palm, create the letter C, safety, security, stability. That palm, keep your thumb there, goes onto the forehead and let your fingers drop. Now you're going to think about this territorial issue and how, okay, maybe you had a fawn and or you feel hopeless, or you're constantly realizing that there is this discouraged talk. So there's a particular talk. You can't, and notice how you can't get them out of your head. So it becomes the question, what's the topic? And if you can begin to just feel, and you don't even have to think territory if you don't want to, you just begin to feel, oh, don't go, it's because, because if you're saying because it is going, you're not healing. You're keeping that particular story alive. We don't really necessarily want you to do that, because you're here to say, I want to calm it down. So now you're going to measure. Oh my God, it's driving me crazy. It's a 10. I'm going to hold this point, right wrist, first position, soft. I'm going to sit there and I'm just going to go, oh, he said this to me. Oh, yeah. And you're just going to, and it's always good if you could record how you're healing. and talk out loud, then you realize that you can be your own therapist as well. But don't because I want you to just feel this particular territorial issue and stay there a good 15, 20 minutes, measure it. And if it's going down, then you're doing great because you're healing yourself. So keep going. When you get to that next part of, hold on. So you have to learn to measure. And then when you feel like your head is feeling better, great. Keep going until it's 0. Don't go down to 1 or 2 and then, it feels okay. No, we don't want that build back up. But if you can't go any further, and for whatever reason, you grab a golden white light, connect it one into your heart, extend it out to this person. And if they accept it, great. If they don't, there's just more to heal. Okay. And you're going to keep going in that direction. And so then I'm going to give you one more point. There's this part that your brain does that says, I feel helpless. I feel helpless. So you're also going to the right, but you're going to go into the second position. Place your thumb there, nice and soft, finger the palm, and then measure out. I said, what is it about it? And they said, helpless and irrelevant. And so look those words up if necessary. What's it feel like to be irrelevant and all that? But by doing so, you're going to give yourself this, you're helping your body and you to work towards a better goal. So the blood's going to come back up to the forebrain, and you're going to start to feel more calm, and you'll be able to have more agency on it. Okay. When she just said goodnight. Okay, so I was going to go on to April Lynn next. So if you're still here, then I'm going with you. So hopefully, Sharon, you can measure to heal it out, get them to 0, but keep your hand there because it will be worth it. Okay, Miss April Lynn, she said basically whatever spirit wants. Now, as I'm looking at this, I'm seeing security. So I said, do you feel insecure? So securities, we're going to look at something because they're repeating security. And I'm not sure exactly where they're going. So security is the state of being protected against or safe from danger or threat. So if your brain is predicting that you're in threat, yeah, that's where it's going. So the brain is predicting that you're not protected. So April, it's like, I can't get into that state of feeling protected. And I said, from what? And the brain says, I keep hearing, I can't behave the way I want. So the body then says, okay, no matter where you're at, I can't behave the way I want. So think about this. Do you do it at work? Do you do it at home? Where do you do it? And have you ever said it? And if you have, then the body is saying that it wants to work on how the brain says, here we go. And then I can't behave the way you want. And then you go into silent brooding. I said, which one do you want her to do first? They said, it doesn't matter. She just needs to grab the right wrist, first position, push in deep, R1D. And you're going to focus. They said, a live experience is better because when you become aware that you believe, the body believes, it doesn't feel protected. And I said, so the body is saying it's not feeling, yes, and it's along with that deficiency. So they want your body, because it's a certain amount of anxiety that you learned around 5 years old, that you don't feel protected. So we want to help now the body. So in this case, Aprilyn, you're going to take and you're going to think anxiety about, I can't behave the way I want, and how the body knows when it's around certain people that you're going to have to behave a certain way. Then you're going to go to use your brush, but you're going to go to the stomach. And on the spine, oops, you're going to go onto the spine, and you're going to hit T8, T10, and T12. Okay. T8, T10, and T12. So 8, 10, and 12 sit right in here. Okay. And you're going to tap and breathe in and out with your hand on your head, and you're going to feel and focus on that. And because the body is saying, I predicted, I can't relax. I can't, because I already know that I'm going to have to do this. And this is, again, this program does not really need you. The body will just do it because it became the norm. Okay. All right. So now, one of the things I'm looking at, is there a statement in particular? Okay, so there is a statement that says, if I were to go and say in the mirror image, I'm okay if failing, and the body goes very weak, it shows an incongruence, is that I can't really believe that statement. And it's showing me that it's the adrenals, the circulation, so it's like, okay, where? And they said, first of all, it's the pituitary. So I said, is there a particular, that says, I'm afraid to fail? And they said, yes. I said, the pituitary. So I'm going to measure this round part. And as I do, I am afraid to fail. And yeah, failing. Yeah. So her brain, the HP, oh my gosh, I know this. HPA axis is as the hypothalamus tells the pituitary, and the pituitary tells the adrenals, and her body then goes into this particular format. Because of this, okay, so now she's going to go and think of that statement. And if I said, I am okay failing, her body's going, no. So she'll need to go up to and work on the pH on this. We want her to go to C2, C5, and T1. So that means that she's going to go into the cervical, the neck area, C2, C5, and T1. And she's going to tap and hold and breathe 3 times in and out on these spots. And then the body, if she does that, then the body will start to go back to congruency. That's what we want. Hi, Ernie. How are you? Hi, Kate. Hi, TP. Okay, so in a moment or two, I'll do TP. Now I'm looking at, okay, so if I were to say, I am the supreme authority of myself, my actions, my thought, I'm the one, okay? She's got absolutely, body is totally incongruent. And I said, okay, tell me where. And they said, if you were to measure the central, then touch here and say, I am supreme authority of myself, my actions, my thoughts. And it immediately goes down. She needs to go into T3 and T6. So T3 is right here, and then T6. And she needs to tap those and hold on her head and feel that statement, because the body is saying it's still in a program. So it keeps predicting when she is being in the authority and the positive thinking and all this, it's not going to honor her because the program says no. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Now I said, is there anything else particular that would help her with any of that? They go, well, I am the supreme authority of myself and my thoughts and like that. They go, she needs to heal out how she was always knows that every time she went to expand the importance of self, there was always this outside that was saying, no, you can't do that. Or what about me? You're always in that situation of what about me? And what about, when it's just not safe. R2S. R2S. Okay, so now we're going to go on to Miss TP. And so usually when your spine or your back hurts, if it's sleeping wrong, it usually means it's fascia. meaning you have to locate in the back, the butt, and you may have to use a ball or something, or a foam roller to locate these points that hurt so bad that you're like, I cannot put any pressure on it. But you're going to have to. Okay. And enough pressure where you breathe in and out 10 times. In and out. Hi, Robin. In and out 10 times. But when you're pushing, we won't realize that we will start to let up. So sometimes we have to add more pressure. So if I have to do it on my body here, I will add more pressure. Or if I'm sitting on something, I will make sure that I keep memorizing that pain spot. Okay. And then let's go a little bit further. So now it's like, let's give the reading to the back and figure out why. So if I'm looking at this particular part, it is, I lack control. And I said, in which way? Physically, I lack control. So the brain is predicting that I am supposed to be this pain. I'm supposed to be this way. So it predicts that it's supposed to be this way. I go, why do you predict yourself to be this way? Well, this is what I learned. And this is how I was to abuse myself if other people were unhappy. I said, okay, what do you want to do? And they said, well, the potential, the physiology healing that you need to do would be of, that's not right. Let me just take and see if this is, all right. So they're telling me they want you to go in the L5. And where else? Anything in particular besides the L5? Okay, so it's learned helplessness. So they put you in a position that they wanted you to behave, this and that. And again, it's a learned helplessness. I'd say definitely look this up. So if I were to touch L5 and say learned helplessness, yep. And if I were to go and check on my alarm points, large intestine, learned helplessness, yep. Now, if I told you to go and your fist or something and get back there and L5, now L5 is located where your waist is, where your pants usually would sit. And you would then go directly in the back and begin to tap. So you get back there and you hand on head. Yeah, learned helplessness. It's like you needed your needs met, but they weren't going to give it to you unless you gave them something first. Okay, you have to earn it, or you have to show that you're a scared little girl, and so we want to help the body to get out of that. Is there anything in particular? They said once she does that, then she's going to need to sit there and hold R2D, because as she began to grow, R2D, as you began to grow and to become more independent and all of this, there was a part of you that said, I can't do it again. So every time you were to exert yourself as a child, from what they're telling me, you would then be no. And then all of a sudden, the pain of the no, or the punishment, or the neglect, or whatever it is, all of a sudden you're like, I can't do it again. So you learn to give up your independence so that you could be safe. And so we need you to go R2D and to begin to feel, I can't do it. I can't do it. And so you were taught to stay down. Stay down. All righty. Now we're going to look, and I believe Katie is next. Oops. Open up the right window. We have Pam. Oh, no, Pam's next, then Katie. Okay. So Pam, you are wanting the chat, and then Katie is wanting to come on. Excellent. Okay. So I will send you the link in just a moment or two, Katie. And we'll go to, hi, Amanda. Let's go to Pam. Pam, are you here so that we can interact, hon? Just want to make sure, because if you're here, sometimes it's good to have a interaction. Not necessary, but it is nice. Well, thank you. Okay. All right, so I'll look up in a minute. There might be a time delay because I'm looking and I'm not. I think she's in this room. Yeah, I think that's where we're at. Okay. So in order to make sure I can see my main screen, because that one's so small, I've gone over to my bigger screen. And oh, there we go. There she is. Yes, whatever spirit wants. Got it. So I have to take my little bar, go all the way down to the end so the red line is a thing so I can catch up instead of delay. Remember, if you're in the room, subscribe or thumbs up. This helps out as you know. So now I'm going to look. Whoa. Okay. So whatever spirit wants. And they said there's self-imposed limitations. And so the brain is saying that I predict that I have to limit myself and limit the way that I behave. And I said, so what is it that's in your space that is saying that? And they said, conscientious. So it's the right and wrong factor. And I said, around 6 years old, there was a part of you said, that's right, that's wrong. Did you say it? You borrowed it. So you looked at others, but the environment kept saying, that's right, that's wrong. And so the environment, and I said, so you were observing whatever it was, and you said, no, this is the way it is. Now, when you saw that as I'm going to behave a certain way, I had to say, no, I can't behave that way because it's wrong. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I said, so at 6 years old, I can't behave that way because it's wrong. And when you followed the instructions, there was a big party that expected them to be there for you, and they weren't, even when you did it right. And you were displaying, look, I'm doing it right. And you may be there for them and they weren't there for you, but you expected them to be there. Do you understand? You understand? Because as I'm looking as your 6 year old, your 8 year old comes up and says, my parents. And I said, okay. And you go, I just feel this. So I feel like whatever information you heard or experienced or watched helped you come to the conclusions that was right and that was wrong. So the whatever relationship maybe your mom was in, or maybe she spoke that way all the time. However it looks, it was an imbalance. You could feel that this was like a karmic imbalance, and you knew that I can't really. Interesting. It is. I can feel the incompatibility. Hold on, you're trying to tell me something. I said, which age? My 6 year old. I'm deficient. I don't want this relationship. I said, what are you talking about? The 6 year old said, with my mom. So there was something that your mom was doing. You're like, I don't want to do it. So you're 6 years old. So were you, yeah. Were you hearing adult stuff and they just assumed you were kids and so they could say whatever they want, but you could feel the feelings from them? You could feel it was like you were at 6 years old, mom's psychiatrist. Does that make sense? Because the energy that I feel that your body says, I don't want relationship, is the energy that you were getting was that you felt so awkward all the time. That's why I was wondering what kind of conversations would you have been exposed to? You know, I'm looking and seeing that. Now, I don't know if it's them or family or if it's whatever, but there would be situations where there would be karma issues, meaning somebody judged somebody harshly, somebody would attack somebody, but there would be this karma stuff that would happen. It's like you noticed it. Did you take the blame? Because there's something about you taking the blame. And I forgot to set the, I have no idea how long I've been talking now. So I feel like sometimes you get caught up in a situation. Okay. Well, I'm sure, okay, you may not remember at 6, but what if you happen to be there and you weren't really paying attention? They're really saying, because your 6-year-old is telling me, and it says parents, you knew they were incompatible or something was incompatible and there was excessive distrust going on, and that you learned how people become helpless in situations. And I think you made a judgment that you did you make a judgment you didn't want relationships, and you made that decision that you didn't want that kind at 6 years old. You made it's not I didn't when you're that young you can't make rational decisions, but there's a part of you that looked up, and maybe they could be even saying, I don't want this relationship, and you could feel this, I don't want this relationship. So there's a part of you that was agreeing as you're mimicking, oh, I don't want relationships. You literally could be doing this. Well, either way, I feel that the body, your body, you have this condition that you're supposed to react and to invading energies, and which causes you to, I expected them to be there for me and they're not. Now, again, this could be the language of somebody else, an adult. But I said, is this really yours? No. Is this somebody else's? Yes. And so these beliefs, are they really yours? No. Now, if I said, did you come to the conclusion when you got older that these were yours? And it was, well, I was conditioned. And you have to understand, a conditioning is that if you see something, you hear something, and you repeat, you already know that the answer you're going to do is this. And so I said, so what kept getting repeated to the point where you said, I don't want this? I expected them to be there for me, and they were not. So can you relate to that? And the reason is that if you can find where it resonates for you, if I saw something I didn't like, I probably said, I didn't want this. Again, you can begin to notice how you could take a stance as a kid. I know I looked at my sister and I was, I'm not doing that, you know. And I remember how, yeah, I was like, ugh. So you're working through, from what I can see, is the 6th chakra. And that is to remove from the mind's eye these pictures that become overlays when it comes to relationship. And I said, so what is these pictures about? And it's about people that are just being so egotistical. And so when it comes to love or the connection, your mind's eye can draw a picture that this is who they are, this is what they're being, and it keeps it so that you're safe. And I said, well, what do you want her to do? And they said, well, for her to heal, it is notice that she is in a self-postal limitation. I'm not doing that. And so if somebody, like, I know that like somebody starts throwing energy around and gets all hysterical, I am going to stop what I'm doing because they don't like whatever it is I'm doing. And I will actually, okay, so I'll retreat and I'll stop doing that behavior. Okay. And I don't do that much anymore. I just continue on, but because I've done all this healing. But it is very familiar to me that I need to get myself safe. I need to, and so my body is saying, I know that they're going to get upset. So then you start to move away from this. So they're saying to help you understand your self-imposed limitations is that the subtle energies of how people would speak or how they would give you that gesture or that tone, and your body would be, I'm predicting that I know how they're going to react or what's going to happen, like be hysterical. So for me, it's just easier if I limit myself, and I can save myself a hell of a lot of aches and pains if I don't go there. Does that make sense? Again, it doesn't make, it doesn't have to, the passive part of you is your 6-year-old saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. So if you can hear the language of certain things and you're responding to saying, I don't want this, I want to do this, I'm going to tell you R1S. R1S. Okay. Because then once you begin to do that, and you're like, I don't want to do this, then you have to go up to left wrist, second position, soft, and go into I reject this. So I don't, and then I reject. So this one is I reject this. And you once you become aware that you are I don't and I reject, you can then connect with your spirit. So when you're having a conversation with somebody or an interaction, you can begin to feel how you can feel that you I don't. And then you have more things to go, oh, I can measure that. I don't want to do this. And I reject because somebody's talking a certain way and you're like, I reject this. And it could be the just everyday conversation and you tune people out, you're like, but you can measure it. Okay. Your body is saying that it wants to do more. And I said, well, how come we can't just take it out of the pH, out of the physical? And they said, at this point, you have to become aware of when these programs, because they were put in place by your child self to protect you. Are you necessarily protecting yourself? Well, it doesn't serve you anymore. It did then. That was your first way of resolving. But now you're getting to the point where you want something more with your spirit, more with your life, more with your purpose, more. And that means you're going to override all those other programs and decide that you didn't want something. I'm done. And this is going to help you heal. Does this make sense? Okay. Now I am going to go and get this. Oops. We're going to bring Katie on. Just got to go find her. There she is. Okay, here it comes. The link. Wow, that looks so wrong. But I just hit copy, so hopefully it's true. It just doesn't look like the right number, but oh well. Don't get caught up on the ages. Get into what's familiar. And when you begin to wake up to something that you're so used to, you're going to have to become aware of, why do I have this? You aren't going to see it until later. Okay, she said yes, thank you. Okay, so I'm hoping this is her because it didn't come in with her name, so hoping I didn't get. Oh, good, it is you. All right, just hit that button there.
Sorry, it's my work account.
No problem, no problem. That's fine. We're good. I just it was reminding me of years ago that somebody was coming in and it ended up somebody. I don't know how they did it, but it ended up they hijacked my show, so I had to shut it down. And anyways,
Trying to
so
find you. There you are.
all right, tell me when you're ready.
Yes, ready. Sorry, I was just trying to shut down Facebook because there was two of you talking.
No, that's very good because you don't want to have that feedback. Yeah. How can I help you?
To explain. Oh, you can hear me?
I didn't hear the first part, but something about explain.
Yeah, it's just a bit hard to explain. It's like all of the things that I want to do for myself, like, when I wake up in the morning, I want to get out of bed, or I want to go for a walk, or anything that I want to do for myself.
Yeah.
It's like a constant battle, and it's like I have to force myself, and it's like me not wanting to help me, but I want to, but there's like this, I don't know.
Yep. That's because your brain's predicting. So this is a very good example. You're home, you want to do it, and home doesn't mean she's sitting in her house. It means spiritually she's being connected, but she's listening to the body, and the body's saying, no, we have different plans. But I want to do this. So she doesn't have the agency that she needs in order to do this control. So I'm going to look and say, why is it that she wants to do this, but yet there's a whole other things that go on? And they go, okay. So they're showing me the first thing is, what about me? And you always had to wait for something to play out. I said, and this is a conditioning. So we're talking about your 8-year-old self that was ever in a situation. Now, do you ever say, what about me? Been in a situation where everybody else is in control, and you catch yourself going, what about me? You connect with that?
Yep.
Okay. Now this program is unresolved. So when I say 8 years old, does anything pop up when you realize that you're saying, what about me? Because I feel
I
like
mean,
you had
that
a
was,
lot of gaslighters around you.
yeah, yeah. Like that was probably my whole childhood, nothing,
Okay.
it,
Okay. So
nothing
at 8 years old,
was,
it was very much was like the peak of it from what I can feel, because usually spirit will bring up only things where it's very poignant. And they
yeah,
said 8 years old, it was where you felt helpless. You became, and I said, tell me more. And they said, well, I could feel the incompatibility and I could feel this loftiness. It's like you became aware that your voice didn't matter. And you're like, wait, what? So you had a realization from what I can see as a kid. I said, now, what do you want her to do? And they go, well, what they would like her to do is understand that she was exposed to learned helplessness. Do you know what that means? Learned helplessness.
no,
Okay. So we're going to give an extreme case, but there can be a mild case. So if somebody kidnapped a kid and chained him up and they didn't give him a bed, they didn't give him water, all their needs were not met. Now, they want that child to do something that it would not do normally with its will, its volition.
yeah,
It wouldn't do it.
yeah,
But they're like, yeah, I want them to do against their own will. So
yeah,
I'm going to put them in the state where they can't get their needs met.
yeah,
And if they cooperate, I'll give them some food. If they go and do the
yeah,
next step, and they
mm,
always raise the bar. Does that make
yeah,
sense? Again, that's just the
yeah,
extreme cases.
yeah.
But learned helplessness is that you are taught that if you need your needs met, you're going to have to pay the piper. You're going to have to
Price.
do things
Yeah.
that you don't want to do.
Everything came at a cost.
Very good. Notice
Um,
the language. It came with a cost. Now, this is
yeah,
again your language. When
yeah.
I look, came with a cost.
And like if I do this for you, then you have to do this for me. There's nothing is just done genuinely out of care or love.
Very good. So it's like, what is it in it for me? So not
Yeah,
necessarily your words, but you knew that that was the law. So
yeah,
begin to notice these beliefs. So you would write these beliefs down and you can even actually measure them. So the first one would be, it comes with a cost. This is how you know your life. And they said, this is what happens when it goes towards you, towards you. So in your mind, towards myself. And this is like when the pimp and the whole energy, they'll put that dream into your head while you do the hard work and they take the rewards. Is that toward yourself that you're going to have to suppress who you are. You're going to have to feel deficient. And so whatever your needs are, you're supposed to stop them. So can you see the correlation already that here you are, it doesn't matter how old you want something for yourself, but you have
yeah,
taught yourself, I have to suppress this. I have to make myself deficient.
yeah,
And so now the brain predicts, well, this is what we're supposed to do because that's the new normal. And I said, okay, what do you want her to do? And they go, well, you have to first notice how natural it is just to suppress. Okay. You're like, yeah, I'm going to go do this. And then all of a sudden it's,
it's
that
so
energy.
it's such a natural thing, and I'm very conscious of it, but it's
Right.
like there's no part that can step out of it. Like lying in bed in the morning, for example, like I wake up at like 6 or 7, and then it's like I want to get up, and it
Right.
won't actually, the two won't connect to even make the decision to get
Right.
up, if
Because
that
the
makes
brain
sense.
says it's because the brain has been conditioned that you have to, it's like depression. You have to
Yeah,
play the role in order to live. So
yeah,
your brain will get into the state in the morning that it is, well, why get out of bed? Why get out of bed? Because
yeah,
this is the only time I can't be controlled.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So there's a safety zone there.
yeah,
Now we want to help the body. Now, to do this, we have to get into, oh God, that feels so normal. Now, don't choose the morning one as much as
yeah,
this is the first time I get to be me. No one's telling me what to
yeah,
do.
yeah,
Now that is it, and I said that's serving you, but it interferes. And again, let's go back to how I am supposed to suppress that part of me. I'm not supposed to show it to people. I have to pay the piper. But in this state, I said, what are you willing to measure, to address? And they go, I have to look at the conditioning. So we have to look at where is the mind's eye. So if I said, in your mind's eye, think of an apple. And your brain goes, oh, I know what that is. I have meaning. Okay. And if I said, what color is it? You would say, okay. And does it taste sweet or sour?
Right.
And can you hear the crunch if you were to bite into it?
Yeah.
Okay. So your brain is predicting and knowing all of these things. So I'm now going to say, when we go into this conditioning and this habit that we need to break, you are supposed to feel shy, timid. You're supposed to, see, you already know when I said the word timid. It wasn't necessarily shy, it was timid. So you know what state you're supposed to be in.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we want to heal. If you can measure that, then what I want you to do, okay, this is how you've remember, oh, this, I've done this the other day. I'll give you a couple extra minutes. I want you to take your right wrist, second position, nice and deep. Okay, and I want you to put your hand here. And we're going to let the body do the healing. But what you're going to focus on is how you memorized your dark night of the soul. Okay, this is that disconnection from spirit. It's that space. Do you know exactly what I'm talking about? Get the number.
And it's honestly the thing that I'm constantly trying to fix for like the last 5 years is that reconnection to myself.
Right. Okay. And it's important to begin to understand that it's this emptiness. Okay. It's this despair. It's this loss of meaning. You can't connect to your authentic self.
Yeah. It's like constantly asking, who am I? And like if I even sat there and tried to think or feel about who I am and what I want and what I feel passionate about, it's almost like there's just crickets. But also the connection to my spirit. Like I said to someone the other day, all I want to do is actually to be able to hear and connect to my higher self, to get my own wisdom and my own,
But we know what you want. We know you have to chase it. But what I want you to realize is that in order for you to survive, you had to put in that space.
Yeah.
Feel that disconnect from spirit.
Yeah.
Because that for you, you had learned helplessness. And so you had to cut that part of yourself off to get your needs met. You had. So I want you to feel that this, because it's serving you, and you memorized your dark night of the soul is no purpose. I got to suppress my feelings. I can't be me. So just drop into this. Even though you're seeking, I need you to heal how you're like, this is my hell, and measure it. And so that's where she's going to focus. Now, as she focused on the dark night of the soul, this is how she had to survive. We already talked about that. She's supposed to feel very timid. She's supposed to, her brain is saying, okay, in order for me to be around these people or this situation, my everyday life, I've got to act a certain way, be a certain way. And then at the same time, I'm doing it against my own will.
Yeah.
And that is the feeling that she needs to stay in, because this is what you're measuring. You have support from out here. You got this, Kay. You got this.
Yeah.
But again, you're measuring not because you're measuring the now. As she's doing this, as she's dropping there, she's feeling this deficiency. That's what I'm supposed to feel. I'm not supposed. I got it. So now as she drops a little further, in a moment or two, I want you to realize what age you are.
Three.
Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your hand right now and you're going to put your spirit. Imagine she's with you right now. Okay. She's in front of you. Okay. Ask her to copy you. And if she want to do this, she'll mirror you. You can say, we're going to put our spirit back into our body. I connect my spirit back into my body.
My spirit back into my body 100% where it belongs.
Off and do it again.
I connect my spirit to my body 100% where it belongs.
Go. Do it again.
I connect my spirit back into my body 100% where it belongs.
Is your 3-year-old doing it?
Yeah.
Okay, now Meg, well, you'll know because she will show you that she's connected. And so it could look pretty, it could look expressful. What do
Mm.
you see her doing?
Like when I look at her still, like it's like she's in black and white and not in color.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine. So I said, what else do we want for this 3-year-old? She has to copy you. Let's go back into R2D real quick because that's when she really felt that learned helplessness state
Yeah.
because she's like, but this is what I know. Now I'm checking, is the spirit in the body then? Yes. And is it connecting, communicating both ways? Yes. Is there any other age that doesn't have it? Now we're going to do it to your 8-year-old too. So have her come because she's the one that's bringing the main issue in front of me. And you could do it again, or you can watch her do it. Okay, put the spirit back into her body, and then you're noticing that your 8-year-old or any age that comes, whoa, something just shifted. Okay, so the 8-year-old really needed to do this, so just keep going.
100%.
Oh, yeah, oh my
Mhm.
God, what a tingling. Oh. Now she needs to connect her body also to the spirit. So we're going to go in the back of the neck and you're going to connect the body to the spirit
Oh my
100%.
God, my spirit,
Let go
100%.
again. She really, yeah, the body needs to gurgle,
Back
wurgle,
into
what it
my
needs to
spirit,
do.
100%. It's interesting. She's standing there like fidgeting and like has like this real excess
Yeah,
energy that
because
feels
she's
really like almost like anger and frustration, but also nervousness.
yes, yes, because that's how she's like, well, what is it going to mean if I not this? Because she's not had
Yeah.
nothing before. So have her to also hold the R2D because she's showing her you how she held her dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she would
And
constantly feel this physically.
yeah, the 3-year-old was I've only just figured this out last week was that our dog got run over and I took all my dad's grief off him.
Okay. And I know, and is that still true? They go, you were supposed to be deficient. You were supposed to do these things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, but do you need to do them now? And so the 3-year-old is saying, I always have to chase my happiness. So she knows what part she had to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when she feels it, this is why you guys are feeling and not going because it's because it is,
Yeah.
oh, this is
Yeah.
my dark night. Feel
Yeah.
how
It is. It's like happiness is something that you don't ever achieve.
notice the belief system. And I
Yeah.
said, what
Well,
did that really come out of? And it came
yeah.
out of your 8-year-old self.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And it's mostly because the grief,
Okay.
is
But feel
more.
how you had to take grief, regardless of what age,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you didn't know what to resolve. You didn't know how to. But what I'm looking is you were supposed to take this grief. And the
Yeah.
question is that you did it so you could show your parents something. Okay. But the thing again is that do you need to? And that is you have to witness how the little believe that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And if you were to say, I'm done with it, she could take that grief and put it into the treasure chest right now.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
can look as you're holding that point as she's
Yeah.
holding. That's her dark night. She's telling you, my dark night is this sadness that I'm supposed to stay in this. I feel like because she did, she was able to make a connection with somebody, and that ended up being a bonding that was
Yeah.
unhealthy bonding. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Just sit there and measure it. Again, 10 being the worst. What number do you think you are? Because now we've changed a few things.
The grief feels like an 8. The helplessness or hopelessness, about a 6.
Okay, so just sit with it for a moment or two.
Yeah.
So there's a connection physically that says it's about disgrace, loss of reputation, or respect due to an action. So if they blamed you,
Yeah. That's what I feel like. Like I feel like I might have like left the door open or I don't know. but I feel like there was some part of me that felt like it was my fault, even if it wasn't.
Right. That's part of your dark night. Now, what you're going to do is you are going to, yep, that's what we're going to do. You're going to go to T3 and T6, and we're going to tap that. So T3 is up at the top. T6 is just kind of like right across above the nipple. So start tapping if people are looking. Just kind of put your hand on your head and feel this disgrace because it's connected to it. So if I tested right here and said disgrace, it is like your whole body is meant to always be vulnerable. We want to correct that so the energy will go in the right direction. So keep going. Yeah. Just breathe in and out. Let's get that breathing. Oh, there you go. Okay. Now, if I were to say disgrace, your body says there is no incongruency. I don't see it. I said, is there any other place that the disgrace would be? And they said, just how you heard or a tone, not quite the gestures, but you heard or a tone. Does that make sense? All right, so you can put that down. I want you to cover up your, let's say you're going to cover up your right ear. I want you to listen to the blaming or the disgrace or the, what do you hear out of this? Just the ear that is not covered.
Everything's always my fault.
Okay, now begin to notice this belief system that it became a chant. Now your brain will keep predicting that it is your fault regardless, even if it wasn't. Now, what number, when you hear this, it comes what they feel, 10 being the worst. What number is it?
7.
Remove, transcend, let go, swap ears. And now I want you to listen to only that ear and with the same thing and measure it. Is it there?
Funny, it's actually just the words you are.
Okay. All right. Remove, transcend, let go, swap ears. Because sometimes we get stuck in a dominant ear. Measure it again with that ear. What number is it now? Because it was a 7.
Some part that is like you are a disgrace, or like I'm embarrassed that you're my daughter.
Okay, so no, it's not a 7 anymore. It's coming down. Remove, transcend, let go. Listen with the other ear. Measure it again. But you can really see which ear you use the most to constantly be on the alert.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this ear again. So remove, transcend, let go. Go back to the other ear and begin to notice the statements are changing.
How dare you?
Okay. And now feel this energy that you're like, I'm supposed to, yeah, no, you don't have to. You can kind of push this off, put in the treasure chest, remove, transcend, let go,
Yeah.
swap over to the other ear. And just listen again in an observative way. And again, I'm not really noticing anything with that ear. So we're just going to remove, transcend, let go
The only
back to
thing
the
I heard,
ear.
the only thing I heard on that side was like, "You're such a failure."
Okay. All right. And again, you can continue to do this when we get off, but we're working with just this particular one that it was about disgrace. Now, you have been programmed terribly. So I highly suggest you do the ear accessing.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure how to
Yeah.
do it, we're going to finish this one. So with that ear, is there any number left? We had a 7 and it came down. What do you got now?
Nothing.
Okay. And that's what you're going to understand. As we move, transcend, let go, realize, do you have to believe your sensory system so
Yeah.
long ago? And if you are being in a space where you do not have to believe your own BS, the
Yeah.
way that our sensory is hooked in, I'm looking and you look really much better. So that sense of feeling that I have to disconnect myself in order to please others. This is the thing that you're going to be journeying on. You're going to go out
Yeah.
there and you're going to be looking at it differently because the perspective wheel, the kaleidoscope moved it. The question
Yeah.
is, do you want to go back to it or do you want to feel connected and
Yeah.
realize that this no longer serves? Now, this you will be tested because it'll show up And you may be completely done with it, where all of a sudden, 2 hours later, oh, it happened, but I didn't fall for it. Or you may fall for it and not even know you did it, and you
Yeah.
won't realize until later, and you're like, oh crap. Doesn't matter. You can go back to R2D, because when something has been ingrained in you to protect you, this
Yeah.
dark night of the soul, this
Yeah.
separation, I can't do. We call it a bad thing, but it was a way that you could have agency over your life, even though now you're like, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a bad thing, but you can change and you can heal this. So, do you feel better?
Yeah. Much, much better.
Okay. So, how do you know? So that your brain can say, oh, well, I don't have to predict the hell, I can predict something better.
Yeah. I don't know, I just don't feel as much restriction. And it's kind of like if I imagine energetically moving and doing something, it doesn't feel like there's someone holding on to my feet.
Good. So the brain can predict, but it also can prepare now
Yeah.
without feeling that it has to do the restriction. It can literally go, oh, and then you'll feel this motivation. It's like when you have to go pee, you're like, oh, you're
Mm.
going to find a new reason to get out of
Yeah.
bed. It's because the
Yeah.
brain says we can prepare to do that. And that's what you
Yeah.
want. All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much for
Thank
honoring me
you.
and you. And we will talk to you tomorrow in Tribal, okay?
Right.
All right. Bye, hon. Um, Oh, good, because I couldn't find the button to get to close. I was like, where did it go? That was gone. That's weird. That was good. That was good. Hopefully, people are learning from this. Hello. Before I go into the next thing, if there's anybody here that's never had a reading from me before, you have the opportunity to have one now for free. If you would like to want to pay or participate, hi, Melody, then you can do 5, 15, or 25. 25 gets you the link to come on to the show, and we can work on stuff that's more feedback and more on time. A 15 would be in the chat room, and then a 5 is a small one. Okay. All right. So if you want to rewatch your readings again, you can do so on YouTube. And the timestamp is the clock that's behind me. And here we go. It's the clock that's behind me, so you'll see your name and that timestamp there. All righty. As we begin to look, thank you so much. And remember, if you like this program, also get people to watch if you think they're interested. Share, learn to start walking your talk, and together we can all help each other return back to love. Looking for my link because we're going to go get Miss Amy. Here we go, and see if she's even ready. There we go. Again, if you're new here, you can have a free reading. It's up to you. Right now, we're going to bring on our next guest and see what she needs to address. You can. The only way that you can change your life, no matter what hell you're in, is that you've got to want to, and that part of you needs to step up. And then we got tools that can help you to address and to change the situations and stories and meaning that we have given it to some degree, and say, so we can help you change the meanings, help you evolve. But you got to want to, and you got to put in the work. Okay. Here we go. Hi.
How are you?
Good. Okay. Yep. We got volume. All right. So, how can I help you?
It's been an interesting, I don't know, week and a half.
So you've been on a little quest,
Yeah.
or growth spurt.
Um, yeah, I ended up having to have a session because my body was talking. It was
Ah,
mentally and emotionally, I was fine, but I'm like eating weird food that I don't normally eat and all of these things. I'm like, Brenda, I think my body needs a session.
Now, what makes this unique is that she has been doing Success Hope Therapy, EFT. She's been doing Source Point. She has been in Tribal. She's been taking and learning how to be her 5%, her spiritual self, to actually see when she's in the program. So she's learning how to use her gift of awareness. And the physical body has its body's consciousness, and the brain predicts this is the operating system, right? This is the suit you put on, but sometimes the suit needs to break out of how it has its new normal. So the brain's predicting and said something to you, but you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? I'm eating the wrong foods, I'm doing all these things. So she is spiritually becoming aware how the body is predicting. So we did have a session. How did that help? What can you share? Because this is important. What was the body complaining about?
The body was complaining about it had someone had said something to me, and it was a signature, a tone, and a frequency, I think, that.
And you didn't even know, because I mean they were very specific. What happened at 8 days ago and blah blah blah. And phone, and you're like, well, it was nothing big. But the body, the brain said, when we hear this, we need to go into this mode. And so that's what the body was doing. So are you still eating weird stuff, or is it
not as weird? I actually ate good food today.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So the body was looking at how you were doing, surviving and using those things. They weren't bad, but they're not good.
I've been goofy, and I've been wanting to spin today, the last hour and a half.
Okay. So if I said the brain is predicting that it needs to spin, why? Well, it's a form of anxiety. I said, so why would you need to have this form of anxiety? Because I can feel this invading energy. What kind of energy do you feel? This lofty energy. And I said, they're telling me that you're supposed to play things out. And I said, with who? And with incompatible people. So you have people in your life that you know that you're not like-minded, that you're not really in sync with, and therefore your body is saying, our old way of dealing with this was to have this habit of checking out. So it's like having migraines and dizziness and things. And I said, so, but you're choosing nausea. The brain is saying, as soon as I hear criticism or they're judging, it will make me spin. So does that make sense? Well, what are you supposed to do with that? She just wrote me something, but again, we're very discreet here. What are you, is your RTJP thinking what other people think?
Yep.
Okay, so yes, it's very high. So we want to address this. So I'm looking at, where did my happy go? So it's like you have to do, and if you don't do, then you're a bad person. So you don't want to show up a certain way?
No, I don't.
And are you expected to? Okay. So I feel this is where your body is saying, I don't want to. I don't want to. And so if I make it, so it's like the body is making the excuse for her because she's not strong or independent enough to say no. And what else? And well, she hates that awkward feeling. And I said, wait a minute. Is that where you want me to address? They go, well, is this habit that she has to be timid?
Makes sense.
I said, what do you mean by timid? And they go, well, it's about them, but I take it personal. I said, so you have put meaning to it. Yes. And I said, well, hold R2S, because the meaning is that you become very self-conscious of that they're looking at you, looking for that response, looking to expect something that you're not wanting to do. So again, this is the volition. It's against your will. And I said, so do they do anything to force you to do it? They go, no, but it was always ingrained in me that I'm supposed to do this. And I said, okay. And they said, this is where I feel that I'm in balance, because I said, so what age are you? I'm 9 years old. Well, and that 9-year-old says, I have to take action when they display this particular energy. And if I don't show that I'm timid, then they're going to think I didn't hear them.
Creepy guy down the street.
Oh, yes. Feel how confusing it is, because it was like, okay, there was a bond, there was a connection, and they took advantage. And when you was going to say no, and they knew you were going to say no, they beefed up their lofty.
Mm-hmm.
So you would put the shadow of a doubt that you could protect yourself, that you had no choice.
Oh, that makes sense.
Now, I'm watching again that you have to always chase any form of happiness. So you have to put yourself in the back burner. So you're kind of doing almost a similar lines as Katie again. You both doing that. You guys did that last time. But it's the invading energy, because, oh, I didn't wear the pretty white dress. Oh, I didn't write this letter. I didn't do manners. I didn't do the appropriate social thing. Okay, they're really showing me that you're supposed to be like keeping up with the Joneses, that you're supposed to do this particular way to show you that your mother or father were perfect people. The child must do this. Okay. So feel this again, it's this invading energy, because I just feel like I got hit. I don't know what that was, but I just felt like I got hit. And it jarred my teeth. Like, I don't know if I fell or I got hit, but it was and it couldn't have been just energy. So energy can feel like a big ass slap when you begin to panic, when if you don't go into this learned helplessness, which is, I want my needs met, but I'm going to have to go through these hoops until they're satisfied. And then I'll get my needs met. So is there something that you want that you can't get? And you know you're going to have to go through all these hoops until they say yes. So the power is in their hands. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're using the word looming. And I said, what do you mean looming? And they said, there's always this looming authority that even if they're not in the room, they got eyes on me. People tattle?
I think so, yeah.
Because I'm looking at how it was like the parents would say, hey, I'll give you a few bucks if you tell me what my daughter's up to. Or, hey, it's like they knew how to make you think that you had to be on your best behavior because we're watching. Okay, I don't know if that's true or not, but all I can feel is this.
Yeah, it felt like everybody had eyes on me because mom and dad were in business downtown.
Okay. That would make
Whether
sense.
they did or not, I doubt it, but it felt like it.
This is the first time my TikTok told me, it says my device is overheating and may affect your streaming. Try charging or cooling down for better performance. By pausing, try pausing or charging. I just unplugged the charger and see if that will cool it down. Well, what they want to do is notice that this is a sign that there's a part of you that tends to overheat. So the brain is going to predict that it has to do this. It has to obsess. It has to be this anxiety. So the spinning is this anticipation. It's this time of year. Because it's this time of year, this is what we do. And because, so like when you had the death dates and the birth dates, and this time of year. And so the body says, I have to go into this. And it was like 3 months after you were married. Okay, there was something about that you have this time, you have to do something because you're considered a wife. Do you understand?
Yeah, Dad broke his back.
Okay. And so this disrupt, okay, but at the same time is that something bad has to happen so I don't have to be in this other situation.
Oh, that makes sense.
So the brain is predicting we have to do this. So we know what the event is today, but is there any other events that are located around besides the one you wrote me?
Not that I remember off the top of my head.
Okay. So the date don't trigger it. So it could be, so 3 months after you're married, were you supposed to do anything for this person that you wrote about?
Mm-mm.
No. Did somebody expect you to?
I think my mom did.
Why didn't you do that for them? Blah, blah, blah. It's like somebody was observing and telling you that you broke Miss Manners, that you didn't do the appropriate thing. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just watched how you're like, but I don't want to. So you were in a situation that you didn't want to be in the first place, but somebody contracted it and said you had to have this life.
Mm-hmm.
Feel how the body just wants to fight
Mm-hmm.
because it's like I would rather spin because I can't make it stop. I can't say no, I can't make it stop. So therefore the body says this is has the conditioning of the environment causes me to become less than and to put myself in this position.
Also makes more sense why I slept for 2.5 hours this afternoon.
To escape, to run, to.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm looking at this, where do I have you hold?
R2S.
All right, now push deep because I want you to realize that this is part of where did your happy go. Now you want to not have to participate, so you have to make yourself not want to be happy. Okay, you could fake it, but you're this at this point you're like I've done everything you asked. I don't have to do this. And the only way that you can get out of it without getting a reaming, badgering, attack was there had to be something physically wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the brain predicts and says this is what we're supposed to do, but the thing is it true that you need to do this? And that's why you're holding that spot, is that noticing where'd my happy go? You're not here going, oh, where'd my happy go? It is, yeah, if I just do this. And again, you don't even have to do it intentionally. The body will do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So the brain will say, this is the only way that you can be safe, get your needs met. You don't have to participate. You've gone, I don't want to do this against your own volition, your own will. You're like, I don't have my agency. I can't do it. And therefore the body says, all right, we need to keep you safe. We need to keep you safe. Then what you're going to do is I want you to notice that the lofty energy is forcing you to have to give up your happy and your life and your thing that you need to do. Hi, Thor. We'll get more people in and maybe we can get back into doing the duck races. Who knows?
Oh, that would be cool.
We just have to get more people in. But again, this is the memorization that this is my dark night of the soul. It became a burden, but it was a necessity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The other thing is it's not really serving, but the brain says this is how I'm predicting. Hi, Davin. Yes, it is. I'm just with Amy at the moment.
Oh.
But notice how the outside environment is lofty, and you believe you can't do anything else.
Oh, and there's anticipation about Tuesday and Wednesday.
Very good. Now, what the brain does is participate with or predict the anticipation. So it's going to create a buildup and give you the answer to, I don't want to do that, and the anticipation and all of this. So the body is already going to be, and it's not harming you. It's just that you are incongruent with who you are as a spirit being. All right. So again, you have to decide, do you want the dark night of the soul? Because it serves you.
I don't.
Okay, that means that you have to look for, once you start to look at this and how like the dizziness, the anticipation. Okay, so you're going to have to probably do this again, R2D, with the dark night of the soul, because you're meant to stay in that frame of mind because it serves. And now you're beginning to see how it serves. And you had thought it, felt it, and be it. That you did it so much that your 41 thoughts was so hyper-focused that it created pathways. So the brain's like, okay, hold on. I'm going to predict. Oh, that's what we're doing. This is what's happening. And it keeps predicting. Now you're saying that you want out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you don't need to pass that shit on to me. All of a sudden I got nauseated. Okay, no. I've already had my bouts about this for the last month. But my brain is saying that brain's okay. So the brain is saying, I'm this out here is not going the way according to, so like in virtual reality, it'll be the way the frames are too slow or too choppy. And the brain says, my feet are not in the right motion. And therefore the proprioception, the sensory system kind of throws you off and your brain starts to go, I can't do this. I'm error. And then it takes you out. So it's literally saying, there it is. Now see, it's back. I'm back. I don't have to follow that nauseated effing thing. Thank God. It is like, I need my agency. I need to get back into control, get back into my breathing, get back into this. Oh. Now we're going to do the pH and then, so it goes, we're going to do the dark night of the soul. So we're going to have you, when you're done with that, measure where you're at and then put the golden white light, because you know there's more work to do there. Okay, so begin to notice that you're going to go and measure the spleen. As you measure the spleen, you're going to say dark night of the soul, and you're going to find out that it's so so now you're going to go to, and you're going to tap T1, T5, T9, and think about how, and, you know, she's got a magnet in her head. You know, she did have shoulder surgery. and yeah, so she's doing things that I'm asking, but not in the way that you normally could see it. So if you guys are going, she's not doing it right. Okay, so it can be modified. So she's got a magnet in her hat. She's tapping T1, T5, T9, and it is the dark night of the soul. The body thinks, I have to predict, I have to do this anticipation, I have to make myself sick, I have to do all this because the outside is so controlling. So hopefully, yes. And then Autumn just got back from the pool. Yeah, I'll be glad when summer comes and I can jump in mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I gotta clean it though. Okay, you're doing it. You're doing it. Just breathing in and out. Now, I said, is there any more for her to do? Now, the thing is the body is saying, okay, so I want you to pay attention if the anticipation, if your body is still doing a few things about it. And again, you may not notice this because this is physiology. You can begin to become aware of and measure it a little differently. I'm looking at this as a gallbladder thing where you're just feeling like it's injustice. I don't know what's coming up in the next few days, but if you'd like to tell me quietly, that's fine. but there's a part of you that is saying that there's an injustice. I gotcha. So, how is that a form of injustice?
They want to be.
So you have to behave. You will have to behave the way they want.
Mhm.
So I want you to go over your liver and say, I'll have to behave the way I want, or I have to behave the way they want me to. I can't behave the way I want. And then measure that and
I have
see.
to behave the way they.
Okay, so in this case, now you're going to go over to T2, T5, and T8, and she knows where those points are, but T2, T5, and T8. Oh, that's good. She's my friend. My friend is a member. So that's good that you're able to balance that relationships out. And it's always nice when you can get things and do things, but at the same time, keeping that relationship, that it's always balanced to some degree. Whew.
Ugh.
And you're talking about, yeah, so go ahead and measure.
That's strong now.
Good. Okay. So can you give me the wisdom that you just learned
I don't have
about?
to believe my own BS.
Okay.
The body goes into prediction, the brain goes into prediction, and if we're not aware of it, we don't even understand that we're taking ourselves out of the game so we don't have to participate.
Right. It's not even about intention.
Mm-mm.
It's about past. And so I'm really liking and learning all about this pH balance that I'm doing. And I'm happy that I'm able to do this. So that's exciting for me.
It's a cool tool. I love it.
Yeah. And it goes along with all the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you very much for coming on, and just be aware that your body is going to tell you so much more.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
But then you can just go in and say, okay, what is it? What's going
Mm-hmm.
on? Listen to
Yep.
the story. And you don't have to believe and take it personal. Just telling the body that you're growing, and like we are doing together. All right, so we will see you tomorrow in Tribal. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll talk to you later. All right,
All
bye.
right. Bye.
Okay. Looking around now, Davin, there was this let's just say, just wanted to say I start a new job. I start a new and better job Thursday. Yay. All right, thank you, Spirit. I will hold space for you on that. um that's wonderful, Davin. That is really good. Just for that excitement, uh we were to say, Spirit, tell me more, and it's let go of the beliefs that no longer serve. So pay attention to what beliefs come up just prior, before you go to do this. Like, your brain will predict and say, it may not do well. You don't have to believe your own BS. Give it a good tap out, do what you need to do. Maybe that will help get you back into alignment. I am also her first and only employee, apparently. Oh, good. This will be different ground for you to grow with. No judging yourself. Just become aware that you're learning something new. And in the brain, when you're learning something new, the brain will go, this is what we do. Oop, that's error. And then it recorrects itself, and then you learn. And so then you become more efficient machine. So this is good. And so that was good to see Thor as well. All right. So if there's anybody else here that, thanks. I probably already have some sense I may need to get some front desk stuff. Gotcha. Okay. If you enjoyed today's program, let me know. Leave me a comment or two. That would be helpful. We want to get this movement going and helping other people to realize that they can take charge of themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and help them grow into awaken into having the agency to be more in control of your own volition, your own will, to have that will. So we have to heal and resolve the things from the past. Okay, I'm going to just double check, see if anybody else is paid. Oh, we're good there. And see with that comment, we're good there. And Teresa, you already realized that I gave you that comment or your reading. I don't remember if you had acknowledged that or not, because I thought you're on here, but then you must have been over there. I must have missed it. Hopefully you know that I did give you your reading. Let me hit that off. Okay. You guys are good. You're really good. Okay, so, all right. We will do. It was. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Help us to grow. Media has changed the way it interacts. It is more not basically user-friendly as much as my understanding. So the people that want to create movements and have business and do good and help others, it's up to you to help get the message out. We have to go back to old school, so word of mouth and creating a world that you would like to live in instead of one that just, hey, I got to live for today. I've got to survive. Let's heal so that you realize that you have more power than you can imagine. And I forgot to record, but that's okay. It is on YouTube. I am going to, so hashtag resolve to evolve. Hashtag heal instead of deal. Hashtag when in doubt, heal it out. Okay. Doubt can be your first clue. You need to build this hashtag awareness, spiritual awareness, hashtag becoming a spiritual human, hashtag. Thank you, Spirit. And we will see you real soon. And remember, you're already blessed and you're already whole. So stay blessed and happy.